people understand what your highest value is. They don't pay me to schedule things. They don't pay me to be there at a photo shoot. They pay me to engage, get people excited who want to buy something. So I'm listening for that information that's going to help us in a negotiation. What are the things they really need? What do people really want? I'm like, all right, let's sit down for a half an hour. I'm going to ask you a ton of questions and then let me run with it. I'm going to do all the work. My team's going to do all the work. You trust me now, and we're going to make it happen.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Scott Harris launched the New York City-based Harris Residential team in 2003. They have gone on to sell more than $1 billion in residential real estate. And his successful visionary brokerage system finds him among the top 250 residential real estate agents nationwide. I think this is going to be a fun conversation for us today because there's going to be so many crossovers. I know they focus primarily in residential real estate, but growing a business and a team, this is something we're going to talk a lot about today. And I'm excited to have Scott on the show. Some of the things we can learn from him. Scott, welcome to the show.
Sam, thanks so much for having me. Great to be here.
The pleasure is absolutely mine. There are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show in 90 seconds or less. Can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? How did you get there?
Okay, where did I start? Grew up in New Orleans, went to school at Penn in Philadelphia, was in a band for 5 or 6 years, learned everything I could possibly learn in the music business, and then translated that directly into real estate when I started in 2003. So I'm in Manhattan, Upper West Side of Manhattan, sell a lot on either side of Central Park. And 20 years later, how did I get there? I throw a lot against the wall. I never stop. I've got a fire that never goes out. I'm always trying to figure out a new way to do something. And I'm just excited to wake up every day. I think that's how I got here.
Man, that's cool. So tell me, building a $1 billion residential brokerage firm, how?
Well, I'm part of a bigger umbrella company called Brown Harris Stevens, right? So my last name is Harris. I'm not the Harris. I'm a Harris. Maybe I will be the Harris. We'll see. But how do you build that? When I started, I really started from nothing. I started in the real estate business with relationships only.
Yeah.
And brick by brick, did tons of networking, put myself out there, I said yes to everything. And then over time, I realized when we had our second child, it was time to get an assistant. So it was very organic the way it grew. I burned out assistant after assistant for a number of years until I figured out how to be a nice guy and a better delegator and manager. And then I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago, I hit a wall. We had an amazing year and it was like, gosh, I'm working way too hard. And I had to sort of retool the whole business and empower the team a lot more. We brought on more of an operations person to help me run the business side of it, and then brought in more talented sales agents. And, we're now a team of 7. We'll probably be 10 by the end of the year. And it's really about making sure people are specialized and, having enough meetings with them so that there's accountability. You can help support them. I know what I'm good at and I know what the other people are good at. So we really try to lean into our strengths. I'll keep that. That's the nutshell, but we can go into detail on any of that if you want.
Absolutely. Let's back up maybe a little bit and talk about you mentioned the word specialized.
Yeah.
What does that mean inside of your organization, and how can people determine how to get their team members to specialize?
Well, I want to make sure I do a direct relate to the commercial side of the business, but let me just talk about residential for a minute. I work with successful entrepreneurs and professionals 35 and over who are crushing it in their business, who really need like a VP of real estate acquisitions, right? They're busy doing what they do. Time is money. They need to be efficient with their time. They feel like the residential side is confusing. They need to trust somebody that can run with it for them and fill them in where it's necessary and really maximize every minute. And so that's what I do. Right. And then I also talk to them, make sure we navigate all the stress, which inevitably comes up in the residential side. Okay. But if somebody wants to buy a 1-bedroom apartment and they're first time buyers and they need handholding, and I know exactly what they need, but I need to have somebody on my team who really focuses on that So the second I know, okay, I can have that initial conversation with them, I can get them excited and motivated and inspired to move forward. And then somebody on my team can do that one specific thing, that neighborhood. And so we can say yes more, but I know that I'm not going to be doing all of that work. I'm going to provide strategy. I'm going to provide advice in moments of crisis. I'm going to help stay calm. I'm going to leverage relationships that I've built over 20 years, but it's like specializing different neighborhoods and different price points. And how does that directly translate into commercial? I have a very close friend who works at CBRE here and is, works with tons of private equity and other really boutique high end. And he's constantly reaching out to me. If I have a commercial need, I reach out to him. He's like, "Oh, you got to talk to this person on my team or this person." It's having the presence of mind to get really clear on what you're great at and do that, and then delegate the rest to people that you can empower to do it, train up, make sure that they can get more, even better at what they're doing and grow. But at least you know where they slot into the types of referrals and the types of business that you develop. It's not all going to be what you can say yes to. You don't have enough time to say yes to everything. And when you say yes to something, you say no to something else, right? So if I say yes to a buyer that's in a lower price point, it's the same time probably dedicated to that person. I'm saying no to a client that's really a better fit for me and my skill set. That makes sense?
It absolutely does. Was there a time, I guess you sound more like a visionary to me and not necessarily the integrator on the team. Is that right?
I I was reading something about that. When I hear good news early, I want to run with it. When I hear bad news, I want to wait until the last minute. It's like I'm all about optimism. People have accused me of being a Pollyanna. That's fine. But yeah, I'm a super optimistic guy. I'm always looking over the horizon and thinking about how things are going to affect our market. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the visionary seat of, in terms of leadership and what I do here. I really try to get other people to keep me from floating into the atmosphere sometimes.
Right. And I think that the point I was going to bring up there was that it's tough, I think, in the visionary seat to want to take the time to develop those other people necessarily into those, hey, specialized roles. It's like, I don't know, like this is the grand idea, go figure it out. How did you overcome that?
Well, what I've always tried to do is have someone in the operations partner, operations manager kind of seat where we set up a lot of accountability. So I think if you're running a real estate business, there's this exactly what you're saying, this tendency to just, I got to work on this deal and I'm working on this deal and I'm running here and there. And, I'm in the car and I've got my suit on and I'm kind of like business meeting after business meeting. And there's a lot of juice there. That's what happens. Right. But I also have to have somebody at the mothership who's having one-to-one meetings with the team saying to me, "Scott, like this person is growing and doing great. Let's lean into that person and incentivize them. And this person needs more support here." So it's having someone else who is keeping track that I know, they can pull me back and we have our meetings one-to-one and then they can say, this is what needs to happen here. But yeah, you have to have an accountability partner either in your business or like a coach. I have both. I feel really lucky that I have more than one person to help keep me in line. But yeah, it is the challenge, but you got to find time every day to work on your business. And that's like what these people are for. Bigger. And then you also have to find people to help you work in the business, but not just on deals, like on actually, if you're going to specialize like that, you got to have people to help you work on your most important thing, which is your talent.
That's so true. That's so true. This morning I had in an unrelated business that we own, I had a meeting with our integrator on that team. And I just looked at what he brought to the table and stuff he was showing us and pulling it up on his computer and all the back end stuff he's building. And I'm like, wow, like I couldn't, you could give me $10 billion and I still couldn't do that. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just not inside my gifting. How have you gone about? I know you said 6 or 7 years ago, you kind of hit that proverbial wall where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm burning, we're making huge amounts of money, but I'm burning myself out on both ends. How did you find that operations person to come in that was a good fit for your team?
Well, I do think it's not as complicated as you think. And in fact, it actually ties together with almost exactly what we were talking about before about slowing down to speed up. I mean, I sat down, I said, what are my strengths? What am I really great at? And, business development, forming relationships, listening, asking lots of questions, and, really being curious and uncovering opportunities, not just in real estate. I mean, I connect people all the time, like just adding value. Right. And what are the things that I'm not great at? What do I not like doing? And then make that list and say, okay, what would a perfect person be like? I'm lucky. I've got a wife that I consider like my COO at home, right? I mean, it's an amazing partnership because she can get all this stuff done. And I have like 1,000% respect for her. And without her, nothing works. Literally nothing works. And so I need to create somebody, I need to find someone who fits that description, man or woman, at work. So I got really clear on what it was that I was looking for, kind of what kind of style. And, more than anything, as you hire a team, you have to, I call like an energetic match, meaning like if I talk to you, Sam, like when I leave this, I want to be fired up. Like I want to love this conversation. I want to, oh man, this was really fun. And like, I have more energy for the rest of my day.
Right.
If you have somebody on the team and you feel exhausted when you're done, that's a great sign that they're not a good match for you. So, more than anything, it's like, I know it's like on paper, they look amazing. And like, they've been doing commercial real estate for all this time or residential, whatever. If you don't find a good match energetically, it ain't going to work. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon enough, you're just going to like, I just don't want to deal with this person. I don't care how much money they bring in or business, whatever. It's working against your business growth.
Yeah. Man, that's excellent advice. It's also hard to hear because, for those of us who want to love everybody and want to include everybody, and it's like,
I know.
Oh man, like I've gotten better at it with time, but it's the old adage, fire fast and hire slow. Like, man, I stunk at firing people. Luckily, I mean, I don't have to do much of that anymore, but when it came down to it, it was like, I hate this.
I still don't like it. It's
No,
the worst.
It's the worst.
But it really does. It's that whole definition of insanity. It's like doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result.
Right.
Like that's what you're doing. You're meeting with this person every day, thinking that magically it's going to change. And you knew it. I mean, in your gut,
right,
that if you want to grow your business, this person has to go. Like I've been late to fire people even recently. I have this amazing guy, love him. And he just wasn't the right person for the seat.
Right.
And it was time to bring somebody else in. And I probably waited an extra 3 or 4 months, but, and he's like, why didn't you, it was like so upsetting that I didn't want to, I didn't want to hurt his feelings, whatever. But, you're not doing anybody a service in the long run because he'll find his way into the perfect job that's great for him. And I was holding him back from that. Right.
That's it, man. Yeah, you're hurting both sides of the relationship, and I think that's something else just to remember. And yeah, I'm still not good at it. You convicted me even there when you said, "Hey, here recently," and I just thought about a relationship where I had to part ways here recently. I'm just like, yeah, I think I postponed that by at least a couple of months. Like, no, I don't want to do that. But that's part of building team. And part of bringing the right people on the right seats in the bus if you're going to advance, your growth in any meaningful way.
Can I add one more thing here?
Yeah.
There's, you asked like, how did you grow your business? One of the things that I felt like I've always done really well in a lot of respects, not in the firing part, but is just speed of implementation, right? If I have an idea, something that like, hey, I should really talk to that person. Did they pop into my head? I just call them, I email them like, I thought of you, blah, 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 text, email, call, whatever. That I think, and people will always say, it's so weird that you reached out to me. It happens multiple times a week. It's very weird that you reached out to me because I was just thinking about you. It's like, okay. So like I'm on to something there. I think that's been a really important piece of growth. But, why don't I just, when I know that somebody has to go, I should just follow my gut there too, right?
Right. There was a good old boy here in Memphis, and he told me this once. He goes, Sam, when do you fire somebody? I'm like, I don't know when. He goes, the first time you think about it. I'm like, wow, that's harsh. And I've gone back through, I've replayed the tape over the last 20 years. And I'm like, not wrong. he's not wrong. The first time you think about it, you're like, oh, wait, your gut already knows that, hey, this is gonna be better for them and you if you guys move on. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if you can do that, I mean, sure. I'll maybe maybe the second time. Maybe the second time.
right. His point was not that you just think about it and you go do it. It was that it's like, hey, this is not getting better, and that goes back to your speed of implementation. Like, hey, there's things that are leading up to building a great team. Tell me, what have been some strategic things you have done to offload tasks, maybe that you thought only you could do?
Only I could do. I mean, come on, right? Like,
You are Scott Harris, but
come on, photography. People want to set up preparation of we have like really high end properties and they're beautiful. And I used to think I have to be at every photo shoot to make sure it looks perfect. How about you just find photographers that you really love and let them do their thing? I mean, maybe in the odd time, there was one angle that I thought of that was really great to make the photos look perfect. But I would say I offloaded that. Another thing, I call it like the doctor approach. When you go to the doctor's office to make the appointments, right? It's not the doctor, it's the person in the front of the office. You call, right. You're not getting the doctor on the phone. So it's like realizing, wait a minute, Scott, you don't have to do everything. Copy people, be very transparent in your communication. When you're going to show a property, if you're, showing commercial real estate or residential, it's the same. Like, you have people who are doing some of the showings. You have people doing all the schedulings, all the logistics. I'm terrible at that. I used to put bands on the road when I was, in my 20s, booking college concerts and all this stuff. I wasn't that great at that either, but it's an important part. But now I have somebody, I say, here's the list, here are the things I want to see. And I have someone who books that. So people understand what your highest value is. They don't pay me to schedule things. They don't pay me to be there at a photo shoot. They pay me to engage, get people excited who want to buy something. So I'm listening for that information that's going to help us in a negotiation. What are the things they really need? What do people really want? If I'm meeting with a CEO who wants to buy a piece of real estate, he wants someone to save them time, make the process quicker. I'm like, all right, let's sit down for a half an hour at the beginning. I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. That's the half hour. And then let me run with it. Let me be your VP of like real estate acquisitions. I'm going to do all the work. My team's going to do all the work. You've delegated it to me. You trust me now, and we're going to make it happen. And we're going to, yes, of course, we're going to manage all the emotions that come up, no matter you're a CEO or not. Right. You get emotional in this process, but that's just par for the course. But I don't know if that answers your question, but those are the things that we try to delegate out and offload into our team to be more efficient.
Absolutely. When it comes to scaling your business, was there a mistake, or is there a mistake you can think of that you would say, hey, this is something that I could help other people avoid?
Oh my God. We're going to have more than 25 minutes to have that conversation. The mistakes, please learn from my mistakes. It's an ever ongoing challenge. In the process of scaling, you have to get your processes really down. And so sometimes it's unclear. Somebody said it's like Swiss cheese. So you got to realize, like, where's the breakdown in your process? Make a note of it so that it doesn't happen again. Like, somebody calls, or there's some moment when you're not sure where to delegate to. And, recently we had to move from one place to another, and then like a few $1,000s of stuff went to the dump instead of to the apartment, right? It was like a disaster. And you're like, okay, left hand, right hand kind of stuff. Right. And you just want to make sure that you're not, more than anything, you don't want to be the bottleneck in your business ever. And what I mean is that you don't want to have like 10 or 15 decisions that have to come through you, because every single time it's like you're reinventing the decision. Right. Like, so I think conceptually, those are moments when you're like, okay, I'm approving some kind of marketing piece or whatever. Put them all together, sit down with your team, Zoom or whatever it is, and like actually consolidate that. I think a big mistake people make is that they like have the one by one decisions. Put all these emails into a folder, schedule a time to review everything at the same time, and then just do it and be focused and present. I mean, I'm an ADHD guy, like a lot of entrepreneurs I know. I mean, if I focus for an hour, I can get a ton done. If you try to nail me down while I'm floating around my day, it's impossible. I can't think about it. So
Absolutely.
be present in your, and then you'll be amazed at how efficient and how much stuff you can get done. But don't be the bottleneck in your business. I think about it. Where am I the bottleneck? Oh, I'm here, 1,000 places here all the time.
All the time. Yeah. And that's, and the faster we can, I love what you said there, empowering others to make the decisions where it's like you said, if it's all marketing material decisions, like, okay, here's our 20 marketing pieces that we've used. Here's the things we like, we didn't like, and this is what it should look like. Okay, team, go make them look like what we've all decided they should look like, and then stop asking me for input.
And by the way, like, they're not going to be perfect. Even if you look at it and you approve it, like, they're always a mistake. Like, forget perfection. It's just, it's all about, do you know what you're doing? Yes. Do you have market knowledge? Yes. Like, you're studying all the time. You're reading all the time. You become that market expert wherever you are. And then people trust you. They like you. They want to do business with you. And then you're going to imperfectly proceed as you scale. Like, that's just the nature of the beast.
It's the nature of the beast. Scott, this has been a blast. Thank you for taking the time to come on today. I've got one last question here for you. What do you feel is the health of the market? And then where are we going from here? Completely subjective questions.
Sure. Well, I'm based in New York. So New York has been an independent market from the rest of the buoyant market. Of course, office space is different than residential, but residential everywhere has been like market peak everywhere around the country. New York never got to a new peak. So it got within maybe 5 to 10% of a peak. Wow. So, right now we've got a little turbulence. We got some mortgage rate issues, although 50% of our deals are cash across our whole market. So, financing is less of a concern here than other places.
It's not like you guys are a cheap market to buy in.
No, we're not. People, or they finance, kind of in some kind of alternative way, borrowing against assets at much lower rates and so on. Well, so what we're going to have, whatever we're going to have from the, equity markets, we're going to have, if there's some kind of slowdown, recession, whatever's going to happen, I would say, we're going to have some turbulence here for the next 6 to 12 months as things shake out. People get used to things. I mean, don't forget, there was a moment where the state and local income tax deductions, which went away in markets like Connecticut or Westchester, where house taxes can be $60,000 a year, $100,000 a year. Everybody forgot about that last year, right? It just went away. All of a sudden, people just forgot that it was important. It was hurting their market pre-COVID, and then it was nothing. So, over the once we get past this recession, I think New York City will see a new peak at some point, in the next 2 to 3 years, I would expect. We'll get back to a peak here. I think everybody will wake up and go, maybe I didn't need that house upstate. Maybe I didn't need that vacation home. I think some vacation markets will probably suffer, but I'm really going to stick to my knitting here and just say that New York City, I think in the next, 2 to 3 years will be stronger than ever. And of course, you could accuse me of being over optimistic, but I do think that we never saw the peak that everybody else saw. And it's a blue chip market. People want to be in New York. And ultimately, I think it'll prove out. There's a lot of demand. People want to be here. It's an exciting city. Come see us. I'm going to have some ribs next time I'm in Memphis. I haven't been to, what is it? Porky's, can't remember the name. Corky's.
You're going to start a family feud here. Yeah. You can go to
what's the other spot that I love? Sat out there on
barbecue. You can go down to Rendezvous downtown.
That's the one.
Go down to One and Only. I mean, there's probably 20 to 40 brand, household names in barbecue here in Memphis. You don't come to Memphis to get fit, but you can certainly eat really well and listen to some great music. So come on.
I high school kid from New Orleans, I used to go up see my buddies in Memphis.
Yeah.
And we didn't have money to go see the concert. So we would sit out on the river, across the river from, what's that venue, that cool venue in the middle of the river there?
There's Mud Island down
here. Yeah, the island, the one on the island there. I remember listening to Sting.
How fun.
I could hear him belting out Roxanne, because that voice cuts through everything. And we're sitting there eating ribs, listening to him. I mean, that was a great summer night with me and my buddies in Memphis. So I'm jealous.
Awesome, man. That's a great memory. Scott, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today. Appreciate your insights both on the market and then just about growing a team, man. You've got some really, really great things that you've shared with us today, and I certainly appreciate it. If our listeners want to get in touch with you and learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
Well, they can go check out harrisresidential.com, which is, our main website. If you go to Brown Harris Stevens and just put in Scott Harris, you'll find us. And we're having a lot of fun on TikTok. So if you look at Scott Harris Finding Home, you can see all sorts of silliness there. That's where I'm probably the most active. And then if you look on LinkedIn under Scott Harris, you'll find me, and I'm posting a bunch of wisdom, dropping a bunch of business wisdom on people. So it's fun.
That's fantastic. Scott, thank you so much for your time today. Certainly appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks a lot.